Yeah, so you sort of read my mind a little bit on meditation. It's very interesting to think, how at a collective level, I know there's also some research out there showing that these collective mass meditations where attention is synchronized at the same time
Mhm.
have actually been shown to have an effect on certain metrics, like the level of crime and violence in a city, for example,
Right,
which is very
right.
interesting to think about.
Yeah.
You worked on a project with SRI International that was a U.S. government project on remote viewing. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that project and what remote viewing is and what you and your colleagues found.
Remote viewing is a euphemism for clairvoyance, and it's all about perceiving through space and time. And so the euphemism was created because there's a conventional realm of remote sensing, which is things like satellites that are able to sense things going on, not only just looking at it, but other aspects of the world. And so being taking place in a scientific contract lab, it was easier to talk about something that sounded like remote sensing, even though it wasn't remote viewing, uh, but basically clairvoyance. And clairvoyance as applied to espionage, to intelligence gathering. Because if clairvoyance is real and you can perceive anything in space and time, that would be quite useful for all kinds of intelligence purposes. So the project started in 1972 with a small grant to physicist Hal Puthoff and his partner, also physicist Russell Targ. And they started doing a very small projects and started working with people who were talented and were able to demonstrate to the government clients that there's something real going on. There's something here which might be useful. So for the next 20 years, at roughly $1 million a year from a whole bunch of different agencies, they were tasked with doing research on assessing not only does this exist, but how do we select people who are good at it? How do we test it? How do we improve it? All of those kinds of questions. And then starting in the mid 1980s, there was an Army program, like in parallel, to actually use remote viewing for operational missions. So both teams knew about each other, but there wasn't that much overlap in it other than through Ingo Swann, who was the psychic who came up with a way of training people how to be better at doing remote viewing. So I was on the research side. I knew about the existence of the other folks, but very rarely had any interaction with them.
Yeah. As far as you know, is this something that is still being used within intelligence?
All I can say is I hope so. So I'm not in that domain anymore. And when I was in it, I had to get a top secret clearance. And not only top secret, but a top secret carve out program, which means that you have a book and you have to sign that book. And only people who have signed the book actually even know the existence of the program and the code word. So today we know the code word Stargate. There are lots of other code words that were involved in it, some of which the code words were classified. You couldn't even know what it was or what it meant. So there were very high levels of classification, most of which I think were for the protection of the individuals involved. Because if you were known to be somebody who had been extremely good at remote viewing espionage, your life would be put in danger. Just like any agent out there who's doing some kind of spying, they can't be known. So part of it was that. Part of it was also the nature of the operations. So now, because it's declassified, you can see that a lot of the operations had to do with drug interdiction. So they're joint task forces in the military services. His job is they hear a rumor or get some kind of a hint that there's 40 tons of cocaine coming in from somewhere on a boat. Nobody knows where yet because people on the boat can decide at the last minute to go here or there. So it's a very difficult problem in how you do the interdiction. Those turned out to be lots of the operational missions. Where should we put our people in order to find this boat coming in to prevent them from bringing drugs in? And the people involved in doing those tasks came back again and again for intelligence from the remote viewing team. The remote viewers actually nailed it and gave valuable information, which was useful in the mission. So they must have been doing something right.